excuse the week 8 indication there. That was to be changed. Anyway, so what you're looking at in the morning was to do with identity and access management, or what you may hear of being termed as IAM. So we went through the slides, and there are some key things that I was talk about. So ideally, I was to look at users, groups, roles, permissions, how to create users, that management of users, how to ensure or implement security user identities. So ideally, that's what I was to look at, because that's what we went through in the morning. So we started off by looking at of course, the agenda, get you to understand what is Microsoft Entra ID. For those who are not there, Microsoft Entra ID is basically you can think of it as the identity an identity provider for a platform like Microsoft, Microsoft Cloud, and even other SaaS applications that need authentication before you access them. So that's basically it. It helps you to authenticate users and even applications that require access to um, basically SaaS applications. Uh, then the next key thing to understand was identities. So identities that is to do with the users, groups, and service principals. Basically, those are the type of identities we went through, and they're the very identities that you need to know about. So other than user groups and service principals being termed as identity, you'll come across a slide whereby users and groups are also termed as objects in Microsoft Entra ID. So just know that. Then we went through Microsoft Entra ID licensing. So we have four basic ones. I believe there's a fifth one to do with the I forgot the name, something like government or what. Anyway, but the basic ones are Microsoft Entra ID free. This is what you get when, say, you're signing up for or any of the I believe it's any of the Microsoft's online services, something like Microsoft 365. So when you're signing up for that, you'll get a Microsoft Entra ID free uh, account created for you that you can use in case you want to. So then, other than the Microsoft Entra ID free, you can upgrade to the Microsoft Entra ID P1, P just for premium, P1 license. So that upgrade, of course, won't be free. You'll have to pay. So whenever you see that P, just know it's pay. You have to pay for it. But anyway, the P stands for premium licensing. So we also have these other two licensing, Microsoft Entra ID P2 and pay-as-you-go licensing. Uh, these ones also you have to pay for them. So you may be wondering what's the difference actually between when you're trying to look at all these four licensing. So the key difference is, just think of it as when you have something like Microsoft Entra ID free licensing, it will only allow you to do so much. But then there are some things that you won't be able to do with that kind of licensing. Or in other words, there are some features that won't be associated with this Microsoft Entra ID free licensing. So, for instance, what you can think of Microsoft Entra ID is the basic. You can just do some basic things on the Microsoft Azure platform. So things like creating users, managing them. You can see that we have the single sign-on feature, and there are there are a number of things that you can do, but it won't be so much as compared to when you have Microsoft Entra ID P1 licensing, or P2 licensing, and even pay as you go option. So most of you, when you'll be signing up for a free account, you'll be starting with that Microsoft Entra ID free ID free licensing, just to try out the platform, see what it's got to offer. Then I mentioned objects. So object management here is basically you managing users, groups, and we have users, groups, roles, and permissions. So those are the four main objects that we were talking about in the morning. Users, how I like to, uh, how I prefer, my understanding that I'll just like pass it over to you guys is users just think of them as normal human beings. That is me or you. So that is users. Then in the recording, you'll find all this. We're talking about who are the internal users and external user accounts. So I don't want to go delving so much into these types of account. I mean the types of user accounts, because it will all be there in the recording. So I'll just go through the uh, key concept that you need to understand. Then groups, of course, is whereby you bundle things. Maybe your users they're bundled up together, or even your devices on the platform, they're bundled up together for you to come up with groups. So I think that's two types of groups: security groups and Microsoft 365 groups. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention early on the morning. Groups, just like users, they can be you can have uh you can have I think it's internal and external groups. So ideally, uh you can choose to kind of I think it's called inviting groups. As you'll see when we're creating users, you can choose to either create new or invite. So the same thing can happen in these groups. You can do the same, such that you'll be having internal and external groups on the platform. So the other category of the other way to categorize these groups is either through coming up with security or Microsoft 365 groups. How I explain this is that security groups, within security groups, you can have both users and devices under that group. Then as for Microsoft 365 groups, you can only have users belonging to that group. So you can't have devices in that group. In Ceylon groups, there are two basic ways to have membership to those groups. So one is the manual way, and the other one is kind of like the automatic way. So the manual way is what we call assigned membership. So you have to go in as the admin, assign the members into that group manually. You'll be selecting like this. This is uh, ideally you'll be selecting the given user and add that person to the group. Then dynamic user and dynamic device is more or less the same thing, only that with dynamic user you are um, that will be associated with adding users dynamically to that group. Then dynamic device will be associated with it's how you'll add devices automatically to a given group. But anyway, dynamic, that's one thing. Assigned is the manual way of uh, assigning members or users to a given group. So there was a note here that you can create a dynamic group for either devices or users, but not for both. So that's something that you need to understand. If you have a dynamic group, it will only focus on either it being a user group or either it being a uh, device-based group. So you can have a dynamic group that has both users and devices within that group. Then the next object was to do with roles. So you have to understand that Anyway, before I get there, roles, like you see on screen here, the term role describes a collection of permissions. Then permissions itself describes an action that can be performed on a resource, such as read, write, and delete. So when you talk of roles, you have two types of roles: Microsoft Entra ID roles and Azure RBAC roles. So Microsoft Entra ID roles are roles that are tied to uh, the Microsoft Entra ID tenant itself. So in the recording, you'll see I went through some of the I just went through the list of Microsoft Entra ID roles, but still, when we're creating users, I think I'll show you guys the same thing. Then RBAC roles, these are now tied to the resources that you create. So things like virtual machines, when you create them, uh, you'll see that they have their roles, some roles associated with them, and yeah. So the next object was service principles. So normally in a lot of times you may imagine that it's only us users who need to authenticate ourselves to access some services or applications. But then uh, from time to time, you may have applications that also need to authenticate themselves to use other services. So how these applications on their own, they can do what you call interactive sign-in like we do, because when doing interactive sign-in, you have to provide username and password. So we human beings can do that. But then for in a service to service uh, authentication, in a service to service interaction, then we need to create what we call service principles. And basically, those are just uh, you can think of them as the user accounts for these applications. So you'll have to create service principles so that your applications can now be able to identify themselves whenever they need to authenticate uh, to use other services on the platform. So under service principles, the old-fashioned way was to, create a user principle, not really user principle, but to do what we call app registration. Then later on, the platform evolved, Microsoft Azure platform evolved. So they came up with what you call managed identities. So under managed identities, we still have two classifications. So we have user assigned managed identity and system assigned managed identity. So the difference between the two is it's really about how um, how you create it starts from how you create these identities. So with user assigned managed identity, you have to create you have to create a managed identity first, then go to the resource that you want to assign that managed identity, then assign that resource the managed identity. Then later on, go into what we call the target resource. So ideally, the target resource will be something that you want, say, this virtual machine to have access to, because it will need to authenticate something. For instance, the virtual machine will need to authenticate itself uh, to before it uses something like storage account. So storage account in this case will be our target resource. Anyway, so you go into the storage account, then assign that permission to this the user assigned managed identity that you created earlier. Then as for the system assigned managed identity, in with this one, you just go straight into the virtual machine, for instance. So virtual machine, that's the resource that you want it to authenticate itself to a given target resource. So you go straight into that resource, and it's just a matter of clicking a button, and that managed identity, system assigned managed identity will be enabled. Then from there, once again, you go to the target resource and uh, um, enable that, actually allow its permission to access to have access to that target resource. So this is table just showing you the scenarios where you use user assigned identity. It's a long listing. I just managed to fit this within the slide. But what you'll notice is that user assigned identity is preferred over manage the system assigned manage identity. Reason because of its use cases and also the advantages it has to offer. Anyway, the recommendation here is that uh, when you're having that when you're not sure on whether to use user assigned managed identity or system assigned managed identity, the recommendation is that if infrastructure requires that multiple resources require access to the same resources, a single user assigned identity can be assigned to them. Then if you require that each resource has its own identity or have resources that require a unique set of permissions and want the identity to be deleted as this resource is deleted, then you should use a system assigned identity. So with the system assigned identity, that identity will be coupled to the resource itself, such that, for instance, if our resource is a virtual machine, whenever you delete that virtual machine, then the identity will be deleted as well. But then with the user assigned managed identity, you can delete a resource like a virtual machine, but the identity will still remain there unless you delete it yourself. Then we went on to talk about Microsoft Entra ID protection, which previously used to be termed as Azure AD Identity Security. So under Microsoft Entra ID, Microsoft Entra ID protection, there are just some. I think we have like three or so features that we covered here. So the first feature was implementing Microsoft Entra password protection. So uh, the thing about Microsoft Entra password protection is that it will help you to just avoid using what you call common passwords that are out there. So for instance, what you see on screen here is password one. So if you look at this, such a password will just fit a lot of systems when they prompt you to, create a password, and they need you to use a mixture of characters. Your password should be like 8 characters long. So such a password will meet that criteria. But then the problem with this is that this is a common password that is known by attackers. And what happens is that they can use such a password to do what we call password spraying attacks. So Microsoft, what it does is that it comes up with a listing of such password and kind of like integrate it in their system so that now the users on Microsoft platform, in this case Microsoft Entra ID, they won't be able to use such passwords. So uh, talking of the list that Microsoft comes up with, that we have what we call global ban password list. So that is a list that will be automatically there for you to use. You don't have to manage it. You don't have to enable it, and I believe you can disable it as well. So it's just there behind the scenes, and whenever, like say, you or any of your users within the tenant comes up with the password that is on this list, global ban list, then they will be forced to just think of a different password to use because it won't allow you to use a common password. Then, as an IT administrator on the platform, you're also given the opportunity to come up with their own list. So that's a custom ban password list. So you may just maybe you know of some common passwords that you feel like they're not there, or you just want to add them so that your users can't use such passwords. So you can do the same with the option to come up with the custom banned password list. So for this one, you need at least a P1 license for you to be able to do that. Then the third option under the Microsoft Inter-Password Protection feature is you can extend these two lists, or at least the idea of using the global banned password and the custom banned password list, you can extend that capability to your on-premises environment. So, and that is the reason as why you see Active Directory domain services integration. So you can do the same. I mean, you can extend it to your on-premises environment such that when your users within that on-premise environment are considering to come up with the password, or at least they've been prompted to key in a password, maybe they're doing a password reset or it's a fresh account, then they won't be able to use any of the password that is banned on that list. So the screenshot here just shows you how to get to that uh, where you can set up password protection. So ideally you need to go into the from the Microsoft Azure Home tab. You need to go into your Microsoft Entra ID and go to the security blade. From there, go to authentication methods, and under authentication methods, there's this option password protection. So you can do the settings of password protection from this blade. Then the second feature on identity security was to use MFA. So MFA, as you know it, because you come across it from time to time, is whereby you're required to provide an additional way um, just to verify that you really are who you claim to be. So other than using username and passwords, you may be required maybe to provide a code on the authenticator app, or maybe they send you a text message and you need to provide that code that has been shared to you via text message. So that is MFA. We talked about two ways of implementing MFA in Microsoft Azure. So one way is through enabling MFA by changing our user state, or what you call per use MFA. And the drawback with this one is that it won't bring about that good user experience, because now your users will be challenged to provide MFA like almost every other time. So that brings about poor user experience as much as trying to ensure security. Then the other option was to enable MFA with conditional access policies. So this is the recommended way of enabling MFA, because now MFA will only be required if certain conditions are met. Otherwise, the user will not be required to provide MFA. Then the third feature when it comes to protecting identities is through implementing conditional access policies. So policies policies would be just a combination of conditions to be met or fulfilled, and the control to be applied. So for instance, the conditions could be things like you may be looking at things like use information. So like maybe I am the user. What role assignment do I have? Am I an administrator? Am I just an ordinary user? And maybe things to do with the group membership of that individual. Then another common condition or uh, information signal that makes up for these conditions that you'll notice the system tries to look for is the user location. So ideally, it will check your source IP address. Where are you trying to sign in from? Is it within the allowed region, or is it somewhere else? Then user device information. With this one, the system can be looking at things like, say, the operating system that you're signing in with, things like some system trying to look at if you have antivirus running in your system, because otherwise, if you're not running antivirus, then your system may be maybe having malware inside it. Then the fourth condition or information signal that the system may be looking for is the client application which the user is trying to access. So what exactly are you trying to access on the platform? And as much as we look at the conditions, once these conditions are met, then you can choose to apply a given control. And in most cases, you may want to either allow access, block access, or require MFA if you find uh, the signing to be suspicious in a way. So about conditional access, this is the blade where you can enable it, and the home page once again, go into the Microsoft Entra ID blade, then go into security, and under security you'll find this option conditional access. So you can come up with that a new policy that will try to will be reviewing your sign-in requests and see whether to block or allow or require MFA in the process. And we have the fourth option when it comes to identity protection, and that is to protect the identities themselves using Microsoft Entra ID protection. So this is another class of protection in its own. But anyway, under this one, there are some four key concepts that you need to understand. So one of them is risk categories, and risk. What we talked about is you can think of risk in this case as any sort of suspicious activity or event related to a user identity. So remember, a user, yeah, like I said earlier, is just like me or you, so normal human beings. So we have two classifications of risk categories. So one of them being user risk and the other being sign-in risk. So user risk is whereby we are looking at the login credentials of any user on the platform. So remember, normally we use usernames and password. So when we talk of user risk, that's what you're looking for. What are your credentials or the credentials of the users on the platform? Are they at any risk? And how will you know this? Microsoft does what some sort of lookup on the internet, just trying to see what are the leaked credentials out there, and uh, once they have all these leaked credentials, they try to check within that tenant that you're having. Could there be any sort of users um, whose login credentials match the leaked credentials that are out there? So that is user risk. Then sign-in risk goes a step further to now trying to detect if the login credentials of any user uh, uh, have been now put to the test. Like ideally, someone tried to use those credentials to log into the platform or whatever SaaS application that this user may be allowed to access. So that is now sign-in request. So it goes a step further to now detecting the event of um, of that sign-in attempt. Then detection types. Uh, detection type here now. It the definition here is that uh, it's about that latency between when a risk happened and when it was reported that this risk happened. Or for instance, let's say you have a user risk. So you are one of you found the system before the system finds out, of course, the credentials have to be leaked. So that time when the credentials were leaked, and that time the system picked up that these credentials seem to have been leaked out there. So that latency is what is classified under detection type. And we have two types of detection type. So we have offline and online. So with offline, the latency or between when uh, the user is happened and when it was reported, that latency is of 5 to 10 minutes, I believe. Then, okay, sorry, that is online detection. But then with offline detection, that latency goes up to 2 to 4 hours. So online, it will take about 5 to 10 minutes before for the latency. Then offline, it will take 2 to 4 hours. Then we have risk levels, and ideally, risk levels is the classification of the level of that risk, be it user risk or signing risk. So we have low, medium, and high. And finally, we have policies. So policies in this case would be about like the reactive part of things, because with risk categories, detection types, and risk levels, those are all about detecting the risk. But then after you've detected the risk, what do you want to do? What is the reaction that you want to take? So that will be handled by policies. So under policies, we have sign-in risk policy, we have user risk policies, and Microsoft ID MFA registration policy. So sign-in risk policy is whereby you want to just set up a reaction to whenever a sign-in risk has been detected. Same applies for user risk policy. The only one different here is the Microsoft Enter ID MFA registration policy. So with this policy, you can set it up such that uh, it will it will just kind of like enforce uh, it will enforce the that requirement of your users to register for MFA at the very beginning when they are say when they are logging in for the first time. They'll be prompted to link an MFA say an MFA device, so that later on in future when maybe they are required to authenticate using MFA, then they'll be able to do that. Otherwise, if they don't integrate MFA at the very beginning, then it will lead to you later on having to go into their user account from on the platform, and helping them maybe to reset their password, or uh, yeah, such a thing, resetting their password. So there was a link here on the documentation of all these risk categories and the detection types. Then this is just a blade on where you can set up the identity protection. So under this blade, you'll notice that we have user risk, an option blade where you can set up user risk, sign-in risk, and multi-factor authentication registration policy. And finally, we went through identity governance. And identity governance now in cloud, particularly Microsoft Azure, what this does is that it is not about detecting risks, but it is about the aftermath, like ideally trying to reduce the impact of maybe say there was that breach that happened. Yeah, a user credentials was leaked out there, and now someone managed to have possession of those credentials, and they have maybe attempted to log into the system, and that was successful. So identity governance tries to reduce the impact that could have been there. Say if you log into if as much as you have the login credentials, what can you do with those with that user account that you have its login credentials? So identity governance, you come across the PIM, or privileged identity management feature. So with this one, you can it will actually help you to fulfill what you call the zero trust principle. So ideally with zero trust principle, you want to ensure that you're giving access to, say, the right people. The access is also being granted just when it's needed, or what you call just in time. And the access is granted for the right duration of time. You don't want it to be extended. You don't want the access to be extended. And also the access is granted at the right level, so it won't be too much. So you can imagine, as much as someone has the login credentials of one of your users, maybe that user only had a lower level a lower level role that was assigned to that user. So ideally with that, um, the attacker won't be able to do a lot on the system because they don't have privilege. Say they don't, maybe they don't have that privilege role for them to, delete users on that platform and so on. So that is all ensured by identity governance. Then another feature that is provided to us and identity governance is access reviews. So with access reviews, this one now, it's like auditing. You want to review the access that you had issued earlier to your users. You want to review those access and see who's still using what access and who's not using the previously issued access. So this way, it helps you to avoid what you call stale access assignments. So such a situation whereby maybe you had a user uh, who moved out of your company, and ideally this person is not there with you anymore. So you want to make sure that you've reviewed such an access and verified that uh, this person is gone. So you've taken away the access that they had previously on the platform. So IAM and access reviews, they go hand in hand. So when you're doing the reviews, the access reviews, you have the option of setting up designated reviewers, maybe per department. Uh, you can say that maybe in the finance department, because such a department is likely to be having someone in charge, or in other words, the head of, say, finance. You can set such an individual to be the designated reviewer for that department, such that when the access review, when it comes to that point of doing access review, that individual who is in charge will look at that department. Maybe they have 10 users, and okay, maybe initially they had 10 users and one of the users is gone. So it will be easier for such a person to tell that someone left the company within our department, and they'll be able to revoke, or in other words, remove the access that that individual had previously. Otherwise, if everyone is around and everyone needs the access that they were having initially, then uh, the designated reviewer has the option to approve that access, or in other words, what they'll be doing is that they'll be extending that access that was initially there for their users. So the users will keep on using the very same access. Then, other than using designated reviewers, you can configure what you call self-review. So with this one, you kind of have to trust the end users, to be honest with you, during these access reviews. Otherwise, if you have someone who's corny and they want to extend the access as much as they don't need it, then that is likely to happen. So with this one, you just have to put your trust on them and hope that they will do the right thing. And you can configure what you call a default behavior when it gets to that time of doing access reviews. So this default behavior is something that you need to set up beforehand. So you have the manual way of doing it and the kind of like um, automatic way of doing it. So the manual way is whereby you can set that for giving access, when that access review would be happening, then no changes should be done on those access. So ideally, no changes means the access that was there will be extended. So it will keep on being there. Then you can set as well that when the moment of doing access reviews comes, then you want a given access to be removed. So uh, those two, those two you can set, you can set it to be that manual. Then the other option that you can as well do manually, but it will still need your attention, is you can set the approve access. So ideally with the approve access, with this one, what will happen is that an access review will be done. Then depending on the access that you've selected, you will get you will be prompted, you as maybe the IT administrator or whoever you've designated, but most likely you'll be prompted to either approve that access or revoke it from there. So that is the idea behind approve access. Then finally, this is like the automatic way of doing things. You can choose to take recommendations on based on what the system has learned about your users. So if maybe say a user has not signed in within the past 1 month, then the system, the recommendation that the system will do here is that it will revoke that access because it seems like that person is no longer using that access. Yes, the person may be within the company, but it seems like they don't need that access. But then if the user signed in within the past 1 month, then the access will be extended, or in other, yeah, it will be extended, or in other words, approved. So that is to do with taking recommendation. And I think that was pretty much it. So right now we can just jump into the practicals. Unless any one of you has a question. Any question from your end? Okay, give me a moment. I'm trying to authenticate myself here. What's happening? Okay, great. All right, so I'll just close this one. Let me just sign out. So for those of you maybe you're coming across Microsoft Azure for the first time, how to get to the portal. Shortcut is just to type in portal.azure.com, then a forward slash, then the pound sign, and then home. Or even I believe if you do portal.azure.com, just like that, it will still work. So portal.azure.com, and you'll be redirected to the login interface of Microsoft Azure. So for me, I previously used these accounts. That's why you see them populated here. Otherwise, if it was a new account, you just input the account. So I'll select my the account that I intend to use. Then you'll be required to provide a password and maybe MFA if you set it up. And afterward, you'll be logged into the portal. So Here I'm thinking of what to do. First things first, let's set up MFA for now for that account that you're using, the very account that the very account that you use to sign into the platform. So it's good to just ensure that your MFA is set up correctly. So some of you may have done this already, and I think if you've done this already, I suppose you're using uh, the Authenticator app. So it's likely you're using the Authenticator app. So the problem with that is that in case you lose your phone, then you'll be locked out of your account, because you go back trying to log in, it will request you to provide MFA using that Authenticator app. And remember, your phone is gone. You won't be able to do that. So it's just good to have a backup for that MFA. And the backup in this case would be setting up a phone number as an instead. So in case you lose that Authenticator app, then you can still use your phone number to authenticate yourself as in terms of the MFA. And this does not apply to Microsoft Azure only. I think even with your Gmail account, with the Google accounts, you can do the same. So to do that with Microsoft, there's this link here. Let me see. Yeah, my sign is to microsoft.com // security hyphen info. So it's hard to memorize it. I've always just have it saved it somewhere. So that is a link that you need to go to. I have it open here. So once it will ask you to provide an account that you're using. So for me, if you're keen, this is the account that I'm using, cloud security 22 at USIU. So that's the very account that I use to sign into this page. So once you signed in here, you need to go to security info, and under security info, you'll just click on add sign-in method. So previously, maybe you are using Microsoft Authenticator or whatever Authenticator app you may be using. So the other, you just need to add another um, MFA option, which is likely to be a phone number. So you click on add sign-in method, select it from here, maybe an email, office form, authenticator app, whatever you choose here, and just proceed following through the wizard that will be there. It's not hard to set up, and by that you'll be set. I mean, you'll be safer in case one of the MFA options you lose one of the MFA options. And back on the platform, let's see how to navigate the platform. So when you open it for the first time, it's likely at the top here it will be blank, or you won't have much displayed here. But anyway, we have this. I don't know if you can see this, but anyway, at the left side of the screen, there's this, I think it's called ellipses. So the three dashes that you see there. So you can click on that. It will give you a shortcut on some of the resources on the platform. So, uh, for instance, if you want to see the dashboard, if you want to go to all services, uh, and then we have favorites. So this will be there defaultly unless I think you can customize it. Anyway, I've never bothered to. Then we have resource groups, app service. So we have this book kind of like bookmarked here for quick access. So in most cases, what you'll be interacting with is an option like the Microsoft Enter ID, um, storage accounts, virtual networks, virtual machines, basically almost all of this depending on what you're doing. So we'll go into Microsoft Enter ID. Then within Microsoft Enter ID, so that is now like your tenant itself. You can think of it like a domain. So under Microsoft Enter ID, we have a number of things here. So how they've been organized is on the left block here, you'll see that we have manage, then under manage we have users groups and all that. So uh, manage here in bold, that's called a section. We have another section here, monitoring section, then troubleshooting and support section. So depending on what you may be looking at, you may see more sections or just a few. Anyway, under manage section, we have users groups, external identities, and so on. So for me, I have a couple of users here. So these are the users that I have. If you're to create a new user, what you just need to do is click on new user, that plus sign. So if you click on that, it will ask you whether to create a new user or invite external user. So before I create a new user, let me just confirm it with groups. So it's the same process when if you're to come up with a group, you need to click on new group, and you'll just proceed to add come up with the new group. Anyway, let's start off with creating just a simple user before you get to groups. So user, and we'll be creating a new user because I'm not inviting any external user. So this is one of the simple things that you can use. It won't be hard. So user principal name or UPN, that is you can think of it as like the email of this individual. So in most cases it would be alias, the name of that user, maybe the first name or whatever way you want to format the alias. So in this case, maybe I have a user in mind. Let me see, uh, something like let me say Jade. So maybe I have a user who's called Jade, and the UPN of this individual now would be Jade at whatever domain name that you're using. That should be at the suffix there. So the domain name that I'm using is capsuleslab.microsoft. And by the way, this is not a public domain name. So it just linked to Microsoft Azure. So you can copy this in case you wanted to keep record of your users. But anyway, it's not necessary. It's not compulsory. You can still get it afterward, unlike what you see in AWS. So Jade, then mail nickname, you can leave it as default, derive from user principal name or the UPN. Then the display name is what this now will be for your eyes, how you want the name of this user to appear uh, in a listing that I'll show you, or ideally on that user listing. So how do you want the name of this user to appear? So maybe you just want their full name. So for instance, maybe Jade, I don't know what's the second name. Maybe Jade Humphrey. Uh, I don't know if that's spelling of Humphrey. Anyway, so that should be our display name, Jade Humphrey. Ideally think of it as the full name of that individual. Then the password that this user will use to authenticate themselves when they're trying to log into the platform. So you can come up with your own password, or use an auto-generated password. So let me just click the I button here, and this is the password that was auto-generated for us to use. So I'll just try to save it somewhere. So I'll paste it there and maybe associate it with this UPN. Then this option here, and just across this account enable option here, so you can see that it's checked. So at times, by it being checked, what it means is that this user account is active already. So it's just a matter of you giving that user the username or the UPN, and the password, and they'll be able to log into the platform. But then whenever you uncheck this button here, then it means that this account, yes, it has been created, but it is not active. So as much as the user will be having the login credentials, um, they won't be able to uh, they won't be able to authenticate into the platform. I'll just leave it unchecked for now, and you'll see how it goes. So the next thing is to maybe set up the properties, and right here is where you can maybe now input. I think this is straightforward: first name, last name of the user, user type. Is that a member or a guest? So you can leave it as default member because it's internal here. Then the other part is to set up maybe the job information. And by the way, this will now become the attributes later on when you think of doing that dynamic assignment into of this user into a given group. So you can use something like the job title, the company name, or the department. You of course you'll have to populate all these. For instance, the job title could be like engineer, maybe say junior engineer. Then company name, let's say, I don't think I want to say, I want to enter the company name. Let me just say it's Azure company. Then maybe the department will put this one under IT, ICT. Then you can fill in the employee ID, employee type, employee hire date and all that, office location. Then you can add a manager, maybe just per department. Maybe within the ICT department, you have a manager, you can do that. Uh, the contact information, you can populate all this as well, because later on you may use any of this information as your attribute to dynamically assign this user to a given group. Then uh, let me see any other important setting. Then the usage location, you can as well set it up. So ideally, where can this user can be set up? Where can this user can be used? So it's just good to make sure that if you're dealing with one region, make sure everything is on that region, because you may come across errors where maybe you're trying to assign this user to a given group. So for instance, most of my deployment, or most of the deployment that you'll be doing is under ECUS. Let me see if we have that. Okay, it should be E. Okay, I don't see that here. But anyway, this would be okay. This would be upon you to decide. No idea, but let me just go back quickly and remove this. Okay, I'll close out of this blade because I want to cancel it. Um, so create a new user quickly. I'll disable that once again. Next properties is user junior engineer. Then Azure company. Okay. Then ICT, there was a department. You see there. And Yeah, so this is what I was trying to escape because it had selected a usage location. I didn't want that. Then and next assignments. So you can assign this user to a given group if you have a group already. So that would be a manual assignment. You can add a role to this individual user, but then remember it's not good and also it's not recommended to add roles uh, per user. So ideally, you want to have a group, then assign a role to that group such that whenever you assign users into that group, they will inherit the role that comes with that group. So it becomes easy to manage users that way. So I won't do any sort of assignment at this point, but you can do a group assignment at this point. Then the last tab is always just for review and create, at least in Microsoft Azure. So ideally, this tab will just give you like a kind of like a receipt of your configuration. So you can see the UPN that you configured is this, Jada at capstonlab.microsoft.com, uh, the display name and all that. So basically what you've configured, because we I did not configure some of the properties back then, or ideally the parameters, so they're not populated here. So I can just create a user account creation should not take long, and you can see that you get the prompt here: successfully created this user. So you can click on that notification to just get more details. uh, Okay, I'll just close out of that. But anyway, you can always click on that notification to see more details about that notification. Maybe it's an error and you want to read through it. You can do that. So I'll go back to Microsoft Enter ID users. Uh, our users should be here now. You can see that the user Jade Humphrey. So that was the display name. That's how we wanted his name to be populated. What you can do here is, let me just stop sharing briefly and share my entire screen, because I want to so what I can do here is I'll click on these left pointed arrows so that I can view this blade in full screen. So that's what I wanted to do. So you can see the display name column. We have the names there, UPN. So in case you not copied the UPN earlier, you can always get it from here. And whenever you see these is it document like icons, just know you can use those to copy. You can see it gives you the option to copy to clipboard. Then the user type is a member all the way. Then this other column on premises synchronization, that's a no, because remember we did not invite anyone. Otherwise, if we had invited someone from your premise environment, then this column would be yes. Identities, I only have a single external user who has been invited, kind of like invited into this domain. So that is this cloud security account. So let me just go into it and see the UPN format. So for those who are there in the morning, I told you that for your external user accounts, the UPN format would be quite lengthy compared to the conventional UPNs, or ideally for your internal users. So if you check the UPN format for this account, it's cloud security underscore usiu.ac.ke pound exe pound at capstonslab.microsoft.com. So that tells you that this is an external account, and ideally it has been invited over into this domain. So if I make comparison, let's just review the user account that we created right now. You'll notice that its UPN format is a bit short. So this is the UPN format of this account. It's straightforward, j.capsonslab.microsoft.com. Yeah. So that's about creating a user account. Then sometimes you may hear of users complaining that, I've forgotten my password and all that. So if you're on Microsoft Azure platform, in case such a thing happens, you'll need to um, go into that user entry, and this is the option that you'll need to click reset password for that user. So you click that, do the resetting. If it's something to do with the MFA, it should be here somewhere. Okay, this one has not been enrolled into MFA. I think that's the reasons why you don't see MFA here. So let me see a user like I think this one. Prenatal. Okay, still not here. Let me see. It should be somewhere here. But sometimes maybe you lost your MFA device, the device that you're using to do the MFA. So it will be upon your administrator to log into the platform because they have the privilege to do that. Then under this under this tab, actually displayed authentication methods. They can come and the option that they'll click is this revoke MFA. Okay, not really that, but there should be an option here. Yeah, this one require re-register multi-factor authentication. Ideally, once this one is clicked on, it will just require that person to re-register their MFA. Then you can as well reset the password from this blade, as you can see here. Then maybe if you report it to your administrator that my device has been stolen, and whoever stolen your device also has your login credentials, so you have the fear that this person may go ahead and try to log into the platform using your credentials. Then as an IT administrator, what you can do is you can revoke the MFA authentication for that given user, because since you're using MFA, the system will we just have to trust you. But then because of such a report, you can choose to revoke MFA for that given user. What else can we do here? Yeah, when talking about MFA implementation, you can this is the option where you can when you go into users, there's this option that at the top here is indicated per use MFA. So if you're to enable per use MFA, that's where you'll need to click on. So if you click on it, it will take you to a different page, and you need to sign in. So I'll just sign in once again. So it will give you a documentation for you to understand MFA deployment guide. So you can click on this documentation here just to have an understanding of Microsoft Azure MFA or Microsoft Entra ID MFA. Then, depending on what user you want to enable per use MFA, what user account you want to enable per use MFA, you just have to click on that user account. Then once it's checked, like for instance, I have Brindatal user account checked, I can come on the right side of the screen. I just have to click on enable per user MFA for that individual. But then remember, per user MFA is not the recommended way of going about implementing MFA. So you need to use conditional MFA. You can as well select all users and just enable. You'll be able to enable MFA for all these users at once. So on the listing here, I have. If I select all users, you notice that it does not give me the option to. Okay, previously it was not giving me the option. Yeah, if I select all users, you notice that I don't have the option to enable MFA. Reason being because if you check this column, this user down here, they have the upper MFA already enabled. unlike the top 3 users. So you just have to select the right users, then enable per user MFA for those individuals. But anyway, that's not the recommended way of doing MFA. So the recommended way of doing MFA, of implementing MFA, is when you go to Microsoft Enter ID, uh, security, you just have to scroll down on the left side of the screen, security. There's this option here, conditional access. So conditional access, this is the point where you need to create a policy. You can create whatever number of policies that you want. Sorry. So you just need to create a new policy, and that is the policy that will be used to see if maybe should this user provide MFA, or they should not. They'll not be required to provide MFA. Then speaking of MFA, it's just proper to make sure that all the users register for MFA at the very beginning. So how do you do that? There is this option here. When I go back to the home tab, on the home page, and then navigate back to Microsoft Enter ID, security, then uh, there's this option here, multi-factor authentication. Uh, is it the one really? No, sorry. Let me just see. There's something here. Okay, sorry. It should be here. I thought there's something there. Security, then and what you call identity protection. Remember that when we are looking at that topic before governance, it was all about identity protection. So all those things to do with conditional access, you can as well find them here. User risk policy, sign-in risk policy, they'll be under this blade. So multi-factor authentication registration policy, you just want to make sure that uh, this is the point where you can set up this policy. Ideally, you will be trying to enforce that all your users should be registered to should register their MFA options. And as much as you set it up on the top section here, you need to click on this button, enabled. So for this policy now to become active, then later on you'll need to check this button, save, so that now you can save your configuration. Uh, yeah. Then user risk policy, sign-in risk policy. This way you can set up the those policies to do with the user risk and sign-in risk. But anyway, I'll see if we can do that, but I don't think we'll have the time to do that. That's why I'm trying to just do some touch-up almost everywhere. So I'll just go back to users. So we have users. We had created a single user there, and we still have some of the users in the listing there. I'll now go to groups. So it's more or less the same thing. Um, so far I have these two groups here, so I can create a new one. And by there, these are some of the things that you can do with the Microsoft Entra ID free account, free licensing. So when creating users, it will ask you, you can see at the top here, you have to choose whether you're working with a security group or a Microsoft 365 group. So remember, security group, it will give you the ability to just group both your users and devices within that group. So let's go ahead and use a security group in this case. Then you need to come up with the group name. So uh, maybe I'll say this is a test group. Then group description, ideally, what is this group about? You can do the description there, but it's not necessary. The membership type, if you're keen, you'll notice that I only have this assigned membership type by default for me here. The reason being I don't have the licensing, the P1 licensing for this for me to use the other dynamic membership type. Otherwise, if this account was having that P1 licensing, I could have selected the dynamic option. So we'll just have to go with the assign membership type. But speaking of licensing, remind me to show you where you can try out your licensing, because you need to do that eventually. Uh, so membership type will be assigned. Then you can select an owner for this given group, but I won't do that. Then because you can as well do a selection of the members to be assigned to this group at this point. So you can do it here or you can do it afterwards. So I'll just create the group for now. And you can see it says successfully created the group, but you don't see it on the listing here. So what you need to do is to click on this refresh button. Most of the time you just find yourself having to work with that refresh button when you're creating resources. So refresh, and ideally to just update. So you can see our test group is here. So you have two ways of assigning users into this group. You can go into the group. I think this is the easier way. So you can go into the group, then under the manage section, what you're looking for is the members option. So members, and you'll notice that we don't have any members here. So even if we go under all members, we don't have any members. So what you can just do is click on add members. Then this will give you all the listing, like ideally what can be added to this group. So we have application, whatever, all these are just default there with the on the platform. But then you can switch tabs here to go under user tabs, the user tab, and this will now give you the users that are there. And you can see you can also add devices. You can also do group nesting. So ideally, you can have a group belonging to a given group as well. So I'll just try to add a single user that we created earlier, who's JD Humphrey. So you just need to select that user. If I needed to add all these other users, I'll just have to check the boxes there and click select at the bottom here, and you'll see that it's saying adding group. So it's successfully added J Humphrey to that group. And yeah, that's the manual way of doing the assignment. The other way is by dynamic option, but I'm not in a position to do that because of my licensing. So speaking of licensing, let me show you where you can try out the P1 licensing. So back in the home page, you don't have to keep on going back to the home page. I'm just going back here for the sake of you guys. You need to go to Microsoft Enter ID. You can search it by the at the top here. This is the option Microsoft Enter ID. So once you get to the Microsoft Enter ID blade, what you're looking for is licensing. So this option here, licenses. So you just need to click there, licenses. Uh, So under this blade, you want to go to all products. If I'll see any. So for me, yeah, under all products, yeah, what you want to do is now click on try or buy. So ideally, you'll be trying or buying a given license. So click that, and these are the available licenses. Yeah, this is the license I was telling you guys. This is like the fifth license, Microsoft Enter ID governance. So this one is kind of like for special use case. But anyway, uh, so let me see. So we have Microsoft Enter ID governance, and we have Microsoft Enter ID P2 licensing. Okay, this is what I see on my screen here. I think maybe for you guys, you may be able to see the P1 licensing. I already tried out the P1 licensing, so that could be the reason as why I don't see it here. So maybe I tried the P2 licensing. So I'll click on this free trial. I don't know if it will allow me to do that. I'll click on activate. Let me see. Maybe it will need me to pay for it. Uh, P2, such a free 1 month trial today. I'll just input the email address. Where is it? Cloud security 22. I believe that's it. At usiu dot ac.ke. Not sure, but let me just double check if that is the account. Yeah, so that's the account classification to gsiu.ac.ke. So next, let's get you started. Sign in. So okay, I'm running into an issue here. You can see that I'll need to uh yeah, I'll need to ask my administrator to get it for me, this licensing. So I'm out of luck. But anyway, for you guys, it would be easier because that tenant will be registered under your email addresses. So you can go ahead and try the Microsoft Enter ID P1 licensing. If it's not available, you can try the P2 licensing as well. So I'll just have to go back from this point. But anyway, that's where you can go to activate your licensing. There's also this other one. I don't know. Microsoft Enterprise Mobility plus 60E5 licensing, I believe. I don't know what it does really, but you can check out the documentation on this licensing to see what features they come with. So we talked about groups, we talked of licensing. The other objects were to do with permissions and roles. So when it comes to roles, I remember telling you that we have Microsoft Enter ID roles, and we have kind of like resource-based roles or RBAC roles. So for Microsoft Enter ID roles, you'll find them here under Microsoft Enter ID, where almost where we've been creating users and groups. When you just check slightly below the users and groups option, you'll see the roles and administrators. So click there, and it will give you a listing of all the roles that are there by default. It will show you the Microsoft Enter ID roles. So it's quite a long list here. You can just click on any role, and it will give you a summary of that role, what kind of permissions it has. So I've clicked on this role. This is the application administrator role, and you can see that right now we are under the assignments blade of this application administrator role. So assignment blade, this will give you a list of who is assigned to use this role. Because remember, creating a user and not assigning them any role means that they won't be able to do kind of like not be able to do anything on that platform. So you have to go ahead and assign roles to your users for them to start working with resources on the platform, or at least doing things on the platform. So let's see, I'll assign uh, application administrator. Let me find a more suitable role. So um, let me search for an administrator role. It's loading. So we have the following roles that are privileged. So for instance, externally identity provided administrator, it's privileged. So these are the kind of roles that you want to make sure they are managed using PIM. I'm just looking for a role that you can use here. I don't know if we have any tailored to specifically virtual machines. Anyway, I think it's help desk. So let me see, can we say password for non-administrators and administrators? Let me see this role, if we can create users using this role. Description. The directory readers, message center reader, password administrator, reports reader. I don't think we can do so much with this role. Let me just use the. Anyway, I'll use this. I'll use this role. So under this help desk administrator role, this is just a briefing of the permissions, or ideally what this role is allowed to do. So directory reading, guest inviter, help desk administrator, message center reader. It's kind of like a reader role in most cases. Anyway, so I'll just assign this role to someone. A given user. Previously, let me see who was that. Jade at capslab.org. So this the user I'll assign the role to, and just show you guys that this user can't do anything so far. Let me just portal.azure .com/, I think it's posting at Microsoft at capsules. Just give me a moment. This is at Microsoft.com. So this link will take me directly to the tenant directory that I'm working with. So I just need to import the email, which is this one. Sorry, not that one. I need to import the entire UPN of this user. Next, then password for this user was these. Damn. I think I forgot the password. Jesus, I don't allow us to sign in. Yeah. So this is one of those instances where you have to reset a user password. So let me just duplicate this tab so that I can reset the password for this user. I never captured it. I'll just closer to this. Give me a moment, guys. So users, uh, is the user I'm looking for. I'll need to reset their password. Reset password. So it will give you a new password here. You cannot reset this user's password because you do not have sufficient permission, or the account has been disabled. Oh yeah, remember we disabled this account, so we need to enable the account. So you can see here under account status, the account status is disabled. So I'll just click on edit and I'll enable it. So account enable, I'll need to check this one and click save. Then now I can reset the password. Okay, where is this? Let me refresh. It's a password. Okay, maybe it's because of my permission as well. Um, I think it's because of my permission on this cloud security account. So I'll just try someone else. Let me see who's there. Yeah, because I forgot the password for this for that user account. Let me see, Kevin Hart. I even get the password of this individual. I don't think I'll be able to reset the password in this one as well. Yeah, because of my account permission. Create a new user. So I'll just delete the two users because I can't access their user accounts. I forgot them. So I'll refresh here. Let me create the user once again, just quickly. Then the down free. So this is the point I forgot to get their password. So I'll just get this password. Replace it with this. Paste there. I'll leave the account to be enabled. Then I'll say review and create. I won't worry about the properties in this case because we won't be assigning them to a group right now. So create. Then I'll get the UPN. I believe it's still the same UPN. So refresh. So we have JDAM free account once again. So I'll try to sign back. Yeah, that's it. Then just drag this here. Put the password. Sign in. So it will prompt you to reset the password. Just JDAM free. I don't know if it will allow that. Copy that, paste it, paste it. So more information required for those who are there in the morning. Remember, I told you guys that the Microsoft Azure gives you at least like a maximum 14 days till you set up your MFA, or if not 14 days, it will be based on your login, the number of times that you log in. So if it goes with that, it will check to give you 10 maximum logins. So even if you are to start maybe log in right now, sign out, log in, sign out within a single day, then once it hits the 10th login, then the I believe the 11th login, you'll just be forced to set up MFA. So that is what you see here. So I want to proceed to set up MFA, but you can click on next, next, next to just follow the wizard and set up the MFA because that's what's required here. So let me click on this one, hoping to escape it. Yeah, so I just clicked on that option to escape setting up MFA and stay signed in. I'll click on yes. So we are now logged in as Jade, the user account that we created earlier. So Jade has no permissions. So yes, we can see all these options available to us, but this user account does not have any uh, permissions associated with it. So maybe let's try to create a user, Microsoft Enter ID, and under users, we just want to attempt to create a new user, which should not be allowed because this individual does not have any sort of permission, I believe. Let me see. New user. And you can see that even the option to just create a new user is grayed out. So he can't do that. Even if maybe you were to, the user was to create a virtual machine, that is not allowed. So I click on the option to create a virtual machine. Where is that? Virtual machines, to go into the virtual machine blend, and you can see that it's telling me that don't okay, ideally I can't do that with this user account. So what you need is to assign permissions to this data free account, so for them to be for that user account to be able to manage the resources on the platform. So for that, I was talking about the help desk administrator role, but then that will not help us to do a lot. So let me use a different role. So I'll go to Microsoft Enter ID and roles. So I'll just go with the global administrator role because with that you can do almost everything on the platform. You can create users, you can create whatever resources you want to. So I'll select that. Then and assignment, you can see that we only have 2 users assigned to this role. So I can add a new user, who will be Jade in this case. So I'll just select Jade and click on add. So he's now part of the list. Jade is now part of the users who has been assigned the uh, global administrator role. So now uh, what I can do now is you need to just refresh for that changes to take effect. Uh, I don't. It's likely I'll need to sign out then sign back in. Let me just see if I can go to virtual machines now. So I'll just have to sign out on Jade's account, then sign back in. Copy this. So Jade once again, password, then sign in. I'll click on you have 14 days until this is required to avoid setting up MFA because this is just a dummy user account. Click yes. So now those changes should have taken effect. And let me try to go to something like virtual machines to create one. Okay. Uh, let me refresh. New user. And you can see now the option to create a new user uh, is there available to Jade. So you can go ahead if you are Jade to create a new user because um, their role assignment has been updated. So if you are Jade, maybe you are using the Jade account and you wanted to check your role assignment, what you'll do is uh, go under users, then there should be an option here. All the users deleted person user settings. Anyway, I thought there was a shortcut there. But anyway, you just need to select your name, like for instance, Jade Humphrey, and there should be something like my roles. Let's check the overview. So assign roles, yeah, that's where you need to go. So assign roles, and it will just let you know. You can see that Jade under active assignments, he has the active administrator role, and eligible assignments. Okay, I'm about to set it up for you guys so that you can see that. So eligible assignments, that's where PIM comes in, and that is under identity governance. So I'm closer to this blade, and now play with identity governance. So for identity governance now, that one you have to search it on the search box here. So you need to type in privilege. Okay, shortcut for that, if you can recall, it is PIM. Just type in PIM or privilege identity management in full. So I'll click on this second option. Uh, the uh, the longer Microsoft Enter privilege identity management. So click on that. And you can see that it will give you like an overview how to go about it, what PIM involves. But then because I'm familiar with that, so what I'll just do is I want to assign a given role. I want to assign a given role. Uh, Actually, not really assign, but I want to manage a given role and a PIM. So I'll click my roles, not really my roles, sorry. I'll need to click Microsoft Enter roles. So it will give me all the Microsoft Enter roles. Then right now we are under Microsoft Enter roles, but we are yet to get there. So you need to go under roles. So under roles, I'll just once again I'll search for the global administrator. You can search for it, or you can click on add and straightforward go into it. So I'll click on global administrator role. Then you can see that eligible assignments, the eligible assignments tab is, we have no results there. So we can add Jade into this role. Okay, we can set it up. We need to first set it up as a PAM role. So resource directory, resource type, select role, that's the global administrator. Select members. This one is compulsory. That's why you see the red select key there. So no members selected. Just click on that, and I'll select Jade once again. Uh, it's gonna be a guinea pig for almost everything. So I'll just select Jade and add him to be eligible for this role, global administrator role. Then next, and when setting up PIM, you have the option to set a given role as eligible to users or active. So eligible ideally means that you are open to use that role if maybe it's your time to use it, or maybe you've been approved to use it. Then okay, the idea here is that there is still, as much as you can use a role, is that de depending factor that needs to be fulfilled. But then when you select active, then that means the role, this, for instance, the global administrator role that we're trying to set up here under PIM, that will be there for that person to use without any sort of approval that needs to be done and such. So it's just good to, because it's PIM, it's just good to leave it at eligible. Then eligibility here, you don't want to make it permanent. Otherwise, with permanent, I don't see the essence of using PIM. It's just like going to a given role and assigning user account that role permanently. So you can uncheck that, then set up how long you want this individual or whatever users you've selected, how long you want them to be eligible for that role. So that's a setup you do here. Ideally, how long do you want them to use that role for? So you can, depending on maybe days, hours, minutes, you can set it up here. So you can see here that the assignment starts on today, 28th of February at around 7:55 all the way to 2025. You can edit that, of course. So maybe I just want it to be for the next like one day, so it will be 20, one day to be like 21, the next day of 2024. Then the time I can leave it the same for it to just count 24 hours exactly. Then I can say assign. So it will configure that role. So as I do that, uh, so right now we have now Jade eligible to use the global administrator role. Another thing that you can do is that you can go into the role settings to just tweak some things here, like say, does this role has to be approved before, as much as a user is eligible to use it. Maybe you want to approve that role before they go ahead and use it. So you can come into the role settings, do some tweaking here. Something like the activation maximum duration. You can change it from, of course, you need to click on the edit uh, button there first. Do some changes here, uh, depending on your preference, then save your changes later on. But anyway, I won't do that. Uh, so yeah, that's PAM. And now, if I close out of this, go to uh, just Microsoft ID, roles and administrators. So let me search for the global administrator role. Once again, I want to remove Jade out of it. So I'll take away that role from Jade, remove assignment. So I'll need to sign out. For the changes to take effect. So previously, what we had done with this global administrator role, we had assigned Jade kind of like a permanent. We had assigned Jade a permanent global administrator role for him to use. But right now, what we're trying to do is to check how to just try out the PIM usage on a given role. So yeah. Let me just go back to PIM, set up something first so that I can show you how this works. Roles, roles. I don't know if this will work because I'm missing out on a license here. But anyway, hopefully it will work. So global administrator. This is the role that we're working with. So if we go to under eligibility, you can see that Jade is still there. I need to set something, the approval part of it, such that if Jade needs to use this role, then he'll need to, we need to approve his request first. So I'll uncheck this require justification on activation. So ideally, that is like you trying to, describe why you need a role. So maybe I can leave it there. I'll show you guys. Uh, I'll take this require approval to activate, and then no approver selected. I'll need to select myself as the approver. So I'll just select my account, the account cloud security account. So I'll just select it, and that will be it. Select, then click on update. Of course, there are so much more, also various other things that you can just set up here, but I need to just set up that. So that is done. Now I can go back to Jade's account, login, and you'll notice that right now, Jade won't be able to just to do anything because it doesn't have any active role. What is the password? Paste it there. Say, but yeah, am I going too fast? Hello,
Hello.
am I going too fast? Maybe I lost you guys in the process. Who is following and who is not? Okay. All right. Anyway, so I'm back in Jade's account, and right now I just want to show you guys that he doesn't have any sort of roles assigned to him. So I'll go to users. So Jade, then assigned roles. You notice that it doesn't have any active roles. So you can see that under active roles tab, previously there was the global administrator role here actively assigned to Jade, but then right now we've taken it away. So right now what Jade has is an eligible assigned role. So you have to switch to this other tab, and you'll see that we have a global administrator role that he's eligible to use. Uh, so he needs to select this role. Uh, okay, let me just push this back there. So he needs to make use of this role for him to manage things on the platform. So where is it? So I think I have to go through PIM. So I'll just type in PIM. Then under my roles, we have the global administrator role here. So I just need to click on activate if I were Jade. So these are PIM role that I want to use. So I'll click on activate, and you can see here that custom activation start time, that. But I don't. Let me just check that. Okay. Additional verification required. Click to continue. Let me see. So I guess needs to authenticate me. More information required. Use. Oh, good. I think I need to set up MFA before I use PIM. So I'll have to set up MFA before I use PIM on Jade's account. So that's what I'm waiting for here. But then sometimes this that address my sign-ins, you may try to access it, but then you find that challenge trying to access it. I don't know why or what happens with it, but anyway. So I'll click on next here. Okay. Next, it's just a matter of following the wizard. So you need to be having an authenticator app with you ready. Click on next, and now you can just go to your authenticator app, scan this QR code. I believe if you scan it from your side, you'll be the one to authenticate me in as well. So uh, you just see here, work school, scan QR. So that is it. Then I'll click on next. So the QR code will just add the as account on the authenticator app automatically. So I'm waiting for it to sync, do the synchronization. Something went wrong. Finish, retry. What's happening? Okay. Uh, go school. Thank you. I don't know why it's taking long. Uh, okay. I think in the meantime I can try to do that. Ready? Nine, 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 7. Okay, I'm finding it a challenge to just do the synchronization. Um, I don't know why, but anyway, um, what I was to show you is that Jade will go through that process of requesting to use that role, the PIM role. Then, as for you, the administrator, you get a prompt in your end, and what you need to do is once again go into PIM. Then under PIM, under this, you need to come to uh, approve requests. So under approve request, you'll notice that there will be a request here from in this case Jade, Jade's user account. So you just need to select that and approve. You can see that right now, this option here to approve or deny, they're grayed out because we don't have any pending requests. But anyway, if there was any pending request that was lodged here, it would just be a matter of either approving or denying that request. And that would be it. Then as for the access review, that's still related to PIM. You find that here. Where is it? Give me a moment. Access review. So identity governance, access reviews. So it's something that you also have to set up, and it can be done routinely. So you just need to click on new access review. Uh, you'll name it, blah blah blah. Just go through the process of setting it up. Select review application to teams and groups. Uh, there's another tab that you can set it up from. Let me just search for PAM here. I think that was sounds straightforward. You know, it's very possible because review access. Let me see review access. So I believe it's under the identity governance, this one. So you just have to come up with, it's like the way I showed you guys, you need to come up with the policy. It's the same thing here. You click on access review, create a new access review, create it here, uh, create a new access review, just ideally give it how long it will be running for and under what, I mean, after what intervals and so on. So anyway, that has been it. I don't know if there's something I missed. Oh yeah, I was to show you the RBAC roles. So for that, you need to have a resource. I created a resource here, a virtual machine. So whenever you have a resource, you'll notice that on the left block here, there will always be this access control blade. So you can just click on that access control blade. Then yeah, if you're new, you won't see any roles here. But then if you just go under roles here, you'll notice that you'll see what roles are associated with that given resource. So give it a time to just load. Uh, Error card, why is that? Oh yeah, it should be here. Uh, why is this? But anyway, there should be roles here under this blend. Then if you have assigned any sort of roles, it should be listed here. This blade should have all the roles here. I don't know why it's not displaying. I don't know if it's because of the account, because I was using this account previously and it ran out of the licensing that I was using. So I'm not sure if that's the issue or what, but I doubt. Okay, so any questions for you guys? I was hoping you could go into AWS, but it's 8 already, and I don't know who would want to stay behind for that. Uh, yeah, this? Any question, feedback, comment, whatever. Yeah. Together. Together.
Yes, okay.
Hi. You don't have to share your video.
Oh, sorry, I just clicked it by mistake.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question here.
Yeah.
Uh, Suppose you have a cloud-based ERP system
Uh-huh.
managed by a cloud ISP,
Uh-huh.
and another on-premise managed locally in a local server.
Uh-huh.
How can the accessibility be synchronized so that to ensure that the resources are accessed seamlessly in real time, assuming the same users under cloud are the same ones accessing the local ERP?
So are you looking to synchronize these resources with Microsoft Azure or what?
Yeah, basically something of the sort.
So there's a tool that there's this tool, Microsoft Enter Connect. I think that's what it's called. Let me just return to my screen here. I just covered this briefly in the morning session where I went talking about how you can synchronize your on-premises environment with the Microsoft Enter ID. Where is it? So under Microsoft Enter ID, there's this tool here. It's Microsoft Enter Connect. Where is it? Where is it? This one, Microsoft Enter Connect, right here where I'm hovering my mouse. So if you click on that, it will give you some details about what the tool is. But anyway, there are some configurations to be done for you to sync your on-premises environment to Microsoft Enter ID. Yeah, there's just some steps to be done. Boxes to be checked and all that listing. So it's not, I don't know if we have a lab on that still, but you can try to see if you know lab on uh internet. It used to be there. I don't know if it will still work. So yeah, I think this is it. So you can just try out this lab to give you a practical feel on how that integration goes. But it's quite a lengthy lab, 60 minutes. Maybe this one will take you almost even 3 hours if you're new to the environment and not sure where to click and what to do. But anyway, that Microsoft Interconnect, that is the tool that you use to sync your on-premise environment with Microsoft Enter ID. Then once you've done that, it gives you like kind of like uh, a single control plane whereby you can manage your users, groups, and stuff. So such that in case you delete a user at one point, then you don't have to go into cloud and delete the same user. No, you just be deleting managing all the users groups and so on from just a single point. There is a caveat with that synchronization. There are some objects that won't be synced from your on-premises environment into the cloud environment. You can just do maybe try to check out documentation on Microsoft Interconnect. It's called, the topic itself is actually called Microsoft Enter hybrid identity. Yeah, it's called hybrid identity. So yeah, that's what we call hybrid identity. So if you just type that online, You can see what is hybrid identity, Microsoft Entra ID. Microsoft, the good thing with Microsoft, it has a lot of documentation on all these. So such a documentation on these, you can just go through it. It will give you an understanding of hybrid identity uh, and what it involves. So I don't know if that answers your question or there's something I'm missing, because I just tried to briefly rush through answering it.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, but once you've synchronized it, then you can decide where the authentication is being done. You have the option of doing the authentication through, actually, you have the option of doing authentication on the Microsoft Entra ID side, or I prefer call it Azure AD side. So you can do authentication on Azure AD or Microsoft Entra ID side, or you can still remain to do authentication on premises. So it will be up to you to decide on the authentication approach that you're taking. You have three options to take. We have one that is called uh, PHS, or password hash synchronization. We have federated, and we have pass-through authentication. So with the PHS, authentication will be done uh, by Microsoft Entra ID. So that will be in cloud. Then with federated and the pass-through authentication method. And with those two, authentication will be done on premises. So in what happens is that after you've maybe dug into the difference between those authentication approaches, you'll notice that people tend to do PTA. They implement PTA as their primary way of doing authentication. Then um, they implement PHS, password hash synchronization, as a secondary way of doing authentication. So ideally, it will be the backup. PHS would be the backup way of doing authentication, just in case maybe or within your premises environment you lose power, and you're worried how will the users connect. So you can implement PHS as a backup way of doing authentication, so that in case you lose power, then users will still be able to be authenticated to the application services that they need to be authenticated into. It's an interesting topic, and I'll just say try to get a documentation on that. Microsoft Enter, Microsoft Enter hybrid identity, get to understand it. If you have any challenge, you can reach out. Then after that, you can check out this lab. Personally, I have not done the lab, but at least I have a clue on how it goes. Anyway, I hope that answers you. Any other question?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thumbs up. Oh, by the way, you can also integrate other cloud platforms like other applications, like maybe if you have something on AWS and you want Microsoft Entra ID to do the authentication for you, you can do the integration. Zamzam, are you talking? Zamzam, I'll take it you're not there. Anyone else? Aviton?
Hello, hi. Hello, hi.
Hi.
There's a class from last week which I missed. I was questioning about the videos. Do you have it uploaded on the LMS? Last week
Last
class
week.
on Tuesday. Yeah,
Uh,
I've been trying to look for it, but I'm not able to find it. I missed the
can you
evening
just
session.